Good evening, friends. Welcome to another installment of Prospero in Bermuda with your host, Stephen. And here we have another book review. Been doing a lot of reading, a lot of articles, a lot of things on the internet and so on. Some of which I'll get into, others not so much. But yeah, I've got a new novel. Well, not new, but I have a new review for you. And if you recall the last reviews I did, they were by a couple of books by Paul L. Meyer. It was the Constantine Codex and More Than a Skeleton, I believe. Those were two evangelical modern books. This one is written by a Roman Catholic author, or at least I assume he's Roman Catholic. The author's name is T.M.Doran, formerly an adjunct professor at the University of Detroit School of Engineering, Master of Science degree from Purdue University. This book is the culmination of 25 years of exploring the history and ideologies of the 20th century, along with a lifelong passion for the mystery genre. He has been a contributing writer for the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, USA Today, New York Times, and Detroit Free Press. So he has quite a writing pedigree, and it shows. The book is called Toward the Gleam by T.M.Doran. I don't know what the T and the M stand for. It's published by Ignatius Press. So it is presumably a Catholic work. And it's way better than the Paul Meyer books. The Paul Meyer books are fine as a kind of Christian Dan Brown, whereas these books are far more substantive. I actually read this book for the first time a few years ago, and I was less impressed with it back then as I am now. Let's see. Well, what is this book about? It is about a young man who fought in the Great War, World War I, who, upon returning, discovers an incredible artifact, a book, which he goes about trying to translate. And this book suggests hints at a civilization that is some 40,000 years old. And he tries to keep it secret. And along the way, he asks various friends for advice on how to deal with this mysterious book, because he attracts the attention of a very nefarious man who proves to be the main antagonist and who will stop at nothing in order to get his hands on the book. And it's not much of a spoiler to say that there are many famous characters, famous real people in this book that are identified in this novel that I'm reading, that are identified only by their first name, but you will know that G.K. Chesterton is in it, and C.S. Lewis, Owen Barfield, Edith Stein, a couple of others, and of course the main character is very obviously supposed to be J.R.R. Tolkien, and that the Lord of the Rings is somewhat based on this book that he finds. So I suppose that is spoiler alerts. But what I find most intriguing about this book is what I actually didn't like so much the first time. I found the first time round that I read it, it was a little bit unrealistic in terms of the dialogue, because he kept meeting these characters and getting into a series of sort of philosophical discussions with them, and I felt that it was a bit contrived. However, this time round, I didn't feel that contrivance as much. I felt that the conversations flowed naturally. I think maybe the reason I felt it was contrived before was because this was closer to the time when I had just completed my my master's in Christian apologetics, so a lot of what they were saying was very familiar to me, and I just felt that it was a little bit preaching stuff I already knew really well. But now that the years have gone by, I really benefited from a return to a discussion of the keen metaphysical differences between communists and Christians and Nazi ideology and Catholic metaphysical presuppositions about the value of the individual human being. I just enjoyed the book so much more. The writing, the descriptions are evocative and just detailed enough to give you a keen sense of time and space and place, without being overly descriptive, getting bogged down in details. Didn't feel that at all. It was well paced. The book is about 500 pages, but it clipped along. I did concentrate. I did not read this book in a day or two. It did take a few days to get through it. I had to put it down for a while and pick it up again. I like the font. This is a different book. I like this style that it's written in. A lot of the books by Michael D. O'Brien had the same. It's all because it's the same publishing company, but I find it easy on the eyes to read. If I had one criticism, and it's an overarching one, it's the unfortunate reality is that we read books nowadays that are terribly violent and see films that are terribly violent, such that I thought this whole thing could have been resolved very quickly had the bad guy been as evil as he's portrayed as being. This bad guy, because this book was written by Catholics who don't want to glorify violence, still had a kind of sense of honor and restraint to him. I just thought, wow, they could have just taken the Tolkien character and taken him prisoner, or taken his wife or kids prisoner and tortured them until he gave up whatever information they wanted. Boom, the book is over. But they didn't do that. So instead, it's this game of cat and mouse with spies and mysterious figures being met in the woods and so on, which made for a good story. I just thought to myself, wow, if George R.R. Martin was writing this, it would have been over within 5 pages. Instead, we have a full-length book that could be enjoyed by anyone in the family. What little violence there is very tastefully handled. There's nothing that I would feel uncomfortable with a child reading. A child might not enjoy the dialogue. There's the Inklings are all sitting around having conversations about the nature of reality and so on. But yeah, any fairly well-educated teenager certainly could enjoy it. And I really do recommend it. Now, this book is followed up by 2 more, which I just got my hands on. The second one is I'm about to read it. It's called The Lucifer Ego. And then there's a third, which is on my bookshelf. It's a one name, one word name, and it's the name of something. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I've heard from just reviews that these ones are not as fine a literary effort, but we'll just have to find out by reading them. As I say, I really enjoyed these. Out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to knock one off because 4 is, 5 out of 5 would be The Lord of the Rings. I'm going to give it 4, even though I don't think it's, if I really wanted to be honest, I would say I'd give it a 3. But I have a special place in my heart for these types of books, books that are edifying, books that are that I feel are good for the soul, even though they're fiction when I read them, and books that combine beauty, truth, and goodness together. So even though I have minor quibbles with, the bad guys aren't really all that bad and so on, and that it almost reads like the kind of Father Brown mystery that a Chesterton would write, well, I'm actually giving it an extra star for that very reason. So if you are a Christian reader who tends to want to enjoy Christian fare but is somewhat dubious about the quality because he's read all of those Left Behind books, then give these a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed, and you just might learn a thing or two along the way because there is a didactic element to them where the characters engage in philosophical discussion. So that is my review of Toward the Gloom by T.M.Doran, or Doran, could be, because I have a friend Moran. And I say, this book is for lovers of C.S. Lewis, Tolkien and Chesterton, because you're going to these characters all feature prominently. And there's another character in there who is a political figure, but I won't ruin that one. Okay, until next time, keep checking the wardrobe for the entrance to Narnia. Ciao for now. Bye.